There's a moment in every man's life when the power shifts, and it's not when you're chasing, calling, or trying to impress her. It's when you stop caring, when your energy pulls back, and she senses you're no longer invested. That's when women react in ways that will shock most men. Because the truth is this, she's far more tuned into your level of interest than you might think. Welcome to the channel where we break down what most men miss about women and relationships. I'm here to teach you what really goes on when the dynamic flips. And nothing flips the dynamic faster than a woman realizing you've lost interest. At first glance, you'd think she'd be relieved, right? Maybe she was acting distant, maybe she was playing games, but watch closely. The second she feels your attention slipping, her entire behavior starts to change. Why? Because deep down, women are addicted to the validation and attention men give them. It feeds their sense of desirability. When that supply dries up, she suddenly realizes the spotlight is gone. And that can be terrifying for her. This isn't about bitterness. It's about awareness. Most men never notice the subtle reactions women have in these moments. Her sudden messages, the curiosity, even the jealousy. And if you don't understand what's really happening, you'll miss the chance to truly see how fragile her sense of control actually is. So, in this video, we're going to unpack the exact ways a woman reacts when she realizes you've lost interest and why this can completely change how you handle relationships going forward. Stick around because once you see this clearly, you'll never look at her reactions the same way again. 1. The shock factor. The first thing you need to understand is that women are far more perceptive than most men give them credit for. They notice small shifts, your tone, your energy, the timing of your replies, even the way your eyes stop lighting up when you see them. And when she realizes you're no longer as invested as before, her first reaction is almost always shock. This isn't because she didn't think it was possible, but because in her mind she assumed she had a certain grip on you. For many men, it feels like women hold all the cards. She gets the attention, she gets the validation, she gets to decide when the conversations happen and how much she's willing to give. But the moment you stop chasing, the game flips. Suddenly, she's confronted with something she didn't prepare for, your indifference. And that's powerful because it unsettles her sense of control. Here's where the shock kicks in. She starts replaying things in her mind, trying to figure out what changed. Did I do something wrong? Why isn't he acting the same? Is he seeing someone else? These questions don't necessarily come from love, but from ego. Remember, your attention is a form of currency, and when you stop paying, she feels the loss immediately. The beauty of this moment is that it reveals how much weight your presence carried in the relationship dynamic. Men often underestimate the value of their attention, but women rarely do. That's why her shock feels so strong, because she thought she had endless access to it, and now she's realizing it can be taken away. You'll notice this shock in subtle behaviors. Maybe she suddenly checks your social media more often. Maybe she becomes curious about your schedule or slips little questions into casual conversations. Some women might even act annoyed as if they don't care. But deep down, that annoyance is just a cover-up for the confusion and panic she feels. What you need to remember is this. Her shock isn't a sign that she truly misses you yet. It's her ego realizing it's no longer being fed. She's not used to losing ground, especially with a man she thought was invested. And the way she reacts in this stage sets the tone for everything else that follows. When she realizes you've pulled away, she won't say it outright, but her eyes will say it. Her sudden interest in your life will say it. And the little inconsistencies in her behavior will say it. This initial shock is the trigger for all the other reactions you'll see later. 2. The sudden attention. Once the initial shock sets in, something fascinating happens. The woman who might have been pulling away, acting distant, or even ignoring your efforts suddenly finds new energy to give you attention. It might feel like it comes out of nowhere. But this is one of the oldest patterns in human behavior. People often value something more when it starts slipping away. Think about it. For weeks, maybe even months, she was used to you being available. You texted her first. You asked the questions. You gave her that steady stream of validation. It's not that she didn't notice, it's that she got comfortable. And comfort in relationships is a silent killer of attraction. When she felt secure that you were always there, she could afford to pull back. But the moment she notices your energy shift, her comfort cracks, and suddenly she feels the urge to give you attention again. Here's what men often miss. This sudden attention isn't always about deep feelings of love. More often, it's her way of rebalancing the dynamic. Your withdrawal makes her question her own importance, so she compensates by re-engaging you. She may text you more, laugh harder at your jokes, or even bring up old memories just to keep you emotionally involved. You'll see this clearly if you hold your ground. Maybe she starts sending good morning texts when she never did before. Maybe she compliments your appearance or shows curiosity about your day. In some cases, she might even ask playful or leading questions to spark a reaction. All of this comes from one place, her desire to confirm that she still has your attention. Now, this is where a lot of men stumble. The moment she turns the attention back on them, they jump in with full enthusiasm. They reply instantly, they get overly excited, and they fall right back into the old pattern of chasing. And just like that, the power shift evaporates, and she knows she's back in control. What you need to understand is that her sudden attention is a test. It's not necessarily about reconnection. It's about reassurance. She wants to see if she can still draw you in with minimal effort. If she succeeds, the cycle repeats. She pulls away, you chase, and she loses respect for you over time. But if you handle this stage correctly by staying composed, by not overreacting, and by continuing to prioritize your own life, you'll notice something even more powerful. She doesn't just give you attention, she starts competing for it. That's when the dynamic truly shifts in your favor. So remember, the sudden attention isn't the end game. It's the opening move in her attempt to pull you back. If you remain centered, calm, and focused on yourself, you'll not only see through the behavior, you'll also keep the upper hand in the relationship dynamic. 3. Jealousy triggers. After the shock and the sudden burst of attention, another powerful reaction often comes to the surface: jealousy. And let's be honest, jealousy is one of the clearest signs that your withdrawal is affecting her deeply. When a woman realizes you're no longer locked in on her, her mind instantly wonders where that energy went. If it's not going to her, then who's receiving it? This is where the dynamic gets interesting. You don't have to openly flirt with other women or post exaggerated stories to spark this reaction. Sometimes all it takes is you living your life, keeping busy, and not being glued to her anymore. If she sees you investing your energy elsewhere, whether it's with friends, your work, or your passions, she naturally feels a sense of competition. That competition is the foundation of her jealousy. Here's the educational part most men overlook. Jealousy doesn't always show up in dramatic ways. Not every woman will come out and say, "Who are you talking to?" Instead, it often appears through subtle questions and little comments. She might suddenly become curious about your plans. She may ask who you were with or why you didn't respond as quickly. Sometimes she'll disguise it as a joke. "You must be too busy with your new fan club, huh?" But underneath, she's fishing for answers. Now, the mistake many men make here is either denying it too hard or over-explaining themselves. The moment you start justifying every move, you hand the power right back to her. She now knows that you still care about her approval, and that kills the mystery you've created. Instead, the best way to handle this is with calmness and confidence. Don't hide your life, but don't rush to prove anything either. Let her sit with the uncertainty, because that uncertainty is what reignites her interest. Jealousy also reveals something crucial about her psychology. She doesn't just want your attention. She doesn't want anyone else to have it. Even if she was pulling away before, the thought of another woman receiving the focus she once had can be unbearable for her. It challenges her sense of desirability and her belief that she was irreplaceable in your eyes. This is why your best move during this stage is to continue living fully. Go out, stay social, invest in your hobbies, and let your life shine without making her the center of it. When she sees that glow without being directly responsible for it, it not only triggers her jealousy, but also forces her to see your value in a new light. So understand this, jealousy is not just a reaction, it's confirmation. It confirms that your absence is felt, that your attention mattered more than she admitted, and that deep down she doesn't want to lose her place in your world. 4. Testing you. Once the shock and jealousy settle in, a woman often moves into another stage. She begins testing you. This is where things get subtle but powerful. When she realizes you've pulled back, she wants to know if your shift is real or if it's just temporary. And to figure that out, she'll start testing your consistency, your self-control, and your emotional strength. Let's make this real with an example. Imagine a guy named Daniel who had been dating his girlfriend Lisa for almost a year. In the beginning, Daniel gave her his full attention. He was quick to respond, always available and constantly putting her needs first. Over time, Lisa started taking it for granted. She became distant, sometimes dismissive, and Daniel could feel her interest slipping away. Eventually, he pulled back, not in anger, but because he decided to focus on himself. Now here's where it got interesting. Lisa noticed. Suddenly, she started texting him first, asking why he hadn't called, even suggesting spontaneous meetups. But mixed in with this attention came little tests. She would say things like, "Oh, so you're too busy for me now." Or she'd purposely delay her replies just to see if he'd react. Sometimes she'd bring up other guys in conversation, not because she was interested, but to measure Daniel's response. This is exactly how women test men when they sense they're losing control. The goal isn't always to hurt you, it's to confirm whether you're truly grounded. If Daniel had folded under pressure, if he had gotten defensive, jealous, or overly eager, Lisa would have known that his shift in interest wasn't real. It was just a tactic. But because he stayed calm, didn't chase, and refused to play into the emotional bait, Lisa's respect for him began to grow again. Men need to understand that these tests are not random. They're deeply tied to attraction and respect. A woman will test a man she feels is worth keeping around. She wants to know if you can handle yourself under pressure, if you're as confident as you claim, and if your new focus on yourself is genuine. The key lesson here is simple. Don't react emotionally to the test. Don't get caught up trying to prove yourself or defend your actions. The calmer and more unshaken you remain, the more attractive you become. It shows her that your world doesn't revolve around her approval anymore. So remember, when she starts testing you, whether through delayed replies, playful digs, or stories about other men, it's not the end of attraction. It's actually a sign that your withdrawal is working. She's paying attention again. And if you handle it like Daniel did, with composure and strength, you come out with more respect than you had before. 5. Emotional swings. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, one of the most confusing stages you'll notice is her emotional swings. One moment she's distant and dismissive, the next she's affectionate and attentive. These shifts aren't random. They're her way of regaining balance and testing if she can still influence your emotions. And this is the exact point where most men lose ground because they either get frustrated or they misread the signs. Here's the wrong way to handle it. Many men, when faced with cold behavior, start chasing harder. If she ignores their texts, they double down by sending more. If she seems moody or unavailable, they try to fix it by over-explaining themselves, apologizing, or showering her with attention. All of this backfires because it teaches her that she can pull away, and you'll do the heavy lifting to bring her back. On the flip side, when she suddenly becomes warm and affectionate again, some men swing just as wildly. They get overly excited, reply instantly, and pour their emotions out as if the past coldness never happened. This makes them look inconsistent, desperate for her approval, and easy to manipulate. Now let's talk about the right way. The truth is, emotional swings are not your responsibility to manage. They're hers. Your role is to remain consistent, calm, and collected, regardless of which side of her mood she's showing you. If she's cold, don't chase. Match her energy. If she pulls back, you keep focusing on your own priorities instead of interrogating her. Silence in this moment speaks louder than begging ever will. When she switches back to warm and affectionate, you don't ignore her, but you also don't over-celebrate. A simple, steady response is enough. For example, if she suddenly sends a sweet text after days of distance, instead of replying with an essay or a heart emoji overload, you could say something like, "Good to hear from you." short, confident, and composed. This shows her that while you're open, you're not desperate. Another example, if she calls out of the blue being cheerful after being cold all week, instead of rushing to pick up every detail of her life, keep the tone balanced. You might respond with, "Glad you're in a good mood. I've been busy with my own stuff." That one line communicates that her mood swings don't dictate your state of mind. The power here lies in consistency. By refusing to swing with her emotions, you demonstrate strength, maturity, and independence. She learns quickly that you're not the type of man whose mood rises and falls with her approval. And paradoxically, that's what makes her respect and desire you more. So the next time you see her hot and cold behavior, remember, don't react, don't chase, and don't over-celebrate. Stay steady, stay grounded, and let her realize that your value doesn't waver just because her emotions do. If you've made it this far through the shock, the sudden attention, the jealousy, the tests, the emotional swings, and her endless curiosity, you reach the final and most important stage, the respect shift. This is where the entire dynamic changes, because she no longer sees you as the man who needs her validation. She starts to view you as the man she needs to keep in her life. Respect is the foundation of attraction. Without it, love fades, interest dies, and relationships collapse. Many men lose a woman's respect the moment they start chasing too hard, giving too much, or making her the center of their world. But when you pull back, hold your ground, and live by your own standards, something shifts inside her. She begins to recognize your value on a deeper level. Here's why it's so powerful. Women are constantly bombarded with attention from men, compliments, messages, invitations. It's endless. So when you don't contribute to that flood, when you stand apart by being selective with your energy, she knows you're different. And different is what earns respect. This shift shows itself in small but telling ways. Suddenly, she chooses her words more carefully with you. She pays attention when you speak instead of brushing it off. She invests more effort into the connection because she knows effort is required to keep your interest. It's no longer about her assuming you'll always be there. It's about her realizing she has to show up too. The beauty of the respect shift is that it doesn't just affect how she treats you, it changes how she feels about you. Attraction without respect is temporary, but attraction built on respect lasts. When she respects you, she doesn't just want your attention. She wants your approval. She values your time, your opinions, and your presence in ways she never did before. But here's the catch. Respect only lasts if you maintain the standards that created it. If you slip back into chasing, over-explaining, or putting her above your own priorities, the shift disappears. Respect isn't something you earn once. It's something you reinforce every day by how you carry yourself. So what does this mean for you? It means that by losing interest, not as a game, but as a natural consequence of valuing yourself, you forced her to reassess who you are. And in that reassessment, she's discovered that you're not just another guy giving her validation for free. You're a man with boundaries, standards, and a life worth respecting. At this stage, you no longer have to demand respect. It comes naturally because she now sees you as the man who doesn't just want her, but the man who doesn't need her. And ironically, that's the man women respect the most. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, her reactions reveal more than most men ever notice. From shock to sudden attention to jealousy and emotional swings, every stage shows just how much your presence actually matters. The key lesson is this: never trade your self-respect for her approval. When you hold your ground, stay focused on your life, and refuse to chase, you earn something far more powerful than attraction. You earn respect. And once you have her respect, the dynamic shifts permanently. That's when you stop playing her game and start leading on your own terms.